When 78-year-old Nola Droop's doctor told her her heart was failing, she was worried about whether she would survive. The last thing on her mind was what type of pacemaker she might receive.
He said that I had no chance of living if I didn't have one. And so, of course, I would have been happy whatever they put in as long as it prolonged my life.
What Nola didn't know is that thousands of patients like her are being kept in the dark about secret deals that reward hospitals and clinics for using specific heart devices. 7:30 can reveal millions of dollars are changing hands in undisclosed financial arrangements between the companies that make pacemakers and defibrillators and private hospitals. These companies call these payments rebates, but what would you call them?
Well, I'd call them a kickback. They're anti-competitive behaviour, they're fraudulent behaviour. A scandal in the healthcare system.
Professor Thomas Fawns is a health and law expert at ANU and explains how it works.
The device maker gets an order from a private hospital. The hospital invoices the patient's insurer for the full amount. The insurer pays the private hospital that amount, which is then paid back to the maker. The maker then issues a rebate back to the private hospital, a percentage of the cost of device in cash or in kind.
Now 7:30 has obtained evidence some private hospitals and heart clinics are getting paid back as much as 50% of the cost of devices. That can mean a cash injection of up to $50,000 for a hospital or clinic every 3 months if they use a particular brand of product.
One of the most interesting features of this information is that if you can get a higher costing device, you'll get a higher rebate. So this creates an incentive for doctors to implant more expensive devices.
Thomas Fawns believes the secret payments undermine the health system.
This type of arrangement is what's called anti-competitive behaviour under Section 45 of the Australian Competition and Consumer Law 2010. And essentially what it does is it freezes out smaller companies.
7:30 has secret documents from a whistleblower within the heart device industry. They reveal just how lucrative payments from one manufacturer, St Jude Medical, now owned by Abbott, are, and that some of Australia's largest private hospital groups, including Healthscope and Health eCare, are involved. Together, those two groups own up to 60 private hospitals and clinics across the country.
This is the generator. We would put this under the collarbone.
But respected cardiologist Dr Brad Willsmore says it's not just St Jude making payments.
There are 4 major companies that provide devices, and as far as I'm aware, all 4 companies would be providing the rebate at pretty much every institution. Certainly in all the institutions that I work, that's the case, for sure. If you're clinically unwell, you get a clinical...
But even with all his experience, he had no idea some private hospitals and clinics are getting cash payments of up to 40 or 50%.
40% seems an exorbitant amount. It seems a lot, and I would suspect that there's a lot more potential for it to have impact on the choice of device if the rebates are up at 40%. If it's going to the hospital profit and companies or hospitals are encouraging implanters to use a particular device because of a rebate, then that would certainly not sit well.
Another top cardiologist agrees.
I think we're aware of that corporate relationship, but the exact details have certainly never been made clear to me.
Australia's largest private health provider, Ramsay, has been identified as receiving rebates, along with several other smaller hospital operators. The group representing device manufacturers says the payments are part of normal business practices.
Legal experts we've spoken to have asserted that these payments are kickbacks. What's your view to that assertion?
They're not kickbacks, and I haven't seen that advice, so I can't comment on that. What I can say is that these are standard commercial arrangements that apply across all markets in our economy.
So who are the winners and losers? Private hospitals benefit from the arrangement, with rebates boosting their bottom line. And device companies profit too. An industry insider says surgeons in public hospitals get used to implanting one company's device, which they can then start using at a much higher cost in private hospitals.
Our members are committed.
The organisation representing device makers says its members have obligations not to influence doctors.
We have a very strong code of practice, and that specifically prohibits any form of inducement being provided to a healthcare professional or to a surgeon to influence their choice of device.
The prices paid for devices in private hospitals are determined by the federal government on what's known as the prosthesis list.
I declare open this public hearing and welcome everyone here today.
Private health insurers complained those rates were too high, and after a Senate inquiry, the prices were dropped last year. But the ABC has found some of the devices are still being sold at vastly inflated prices. The most recent data shows in private hospitals, a gold standard heart device can cost more than $39,000, well above its true cost. An industry insider has told the ABC this revenue is being used to subsidise cheaper sales of the same product in the public sector, sometimes $16,000, which is well below its true cost. But those products in the public sector can be older models with fewer added extras, meaning public patients miss out.
Certainly there are some instances where a patient might get a more basic model than they would receive in the private system. They might have a device with less features. As someone who bulk bills everybody for everything all of the time, I find it incredibly inequitable and I find it extremely challenging.
If on an occasion I believe that a public patient needs a device that is not usually available to a public patient, we will apply for that device and it will almost certainly always be granted. So our public patients don't miss out.
Manufacturers say devices cost more in private hospitals because ongoing maintenance is included in the price. All the private hospital groups, including Ramsay, HealthScope and Health eCare, say it's up to doctors to decide on the best device for each patient, and that hospital executives have no influence in that decision. The Private Hospitals Association says it's not aware of any ruling that rebates are against the law. Hospitals say they use multiple suppliers and that rebates are as low as 2%. While the ACCC looked into the scheme more than 15 years ago, Professor Faunce says in his view, regulators need to look again.
Now that the information's come to light that these rebate schemes are working, it's clear that they're anti-competitive, it's clear that they're kickbacks. The ACCC has to take action.
Cardiologists say that when it comes to heart devices, it's not so much a question of safety, but transparency.
I'm completely confident the patients are receiving a good quality of care and a good device.
I think transparency is fundamentally important so patients know exactly what they're getting.
Nola Droop knows having a pacemaker saved her life, and she's happy with the type of device she has. But she says patients need to be given more information about what devices doctors are using and why.
If it causes other people to pay more, I think that's wrong. I didn't know about that, and I don't think many people do. That's so unseen. Nobody knows that that's going on.